On this very special episode of Designer Notes, we'll be reviewing one of the very first microbrands that we ever featured in this channel. And even though this particular model might already be sold out, it's still worth considering. In our blueprint segment, we're going to be discussing the history of this channel itself and why some recent changes are actually life-altering for me. And finally, in our viewer comments, well, it's not really a viewer comments segment, but rather we're featuring one of you viewers who visited Aruba, and that interview has so many fascinating and interesting things worth noting about. Now, you may have noticed that that intro is quite different, and that is part of the big announcement that we're finally going to be able to tell you after months and months of primer and setting up. But first, we would like to go back and look at the history of this channel and why this channel even exists. Well, to tell you the truth, this really started as a channel that I wanted to make for a long time ago. Initially, though, the original concept of this channel is about design in general. If you look at my very early library of content, it included me talking about Star Wars, the new Mandalorian series. I even talked about the Cybertruck from Tesla and that Super Mario Lego collaboration. The more that I talked about watch design, the more that I gravitated towards that, and that's where I saw the most engagement from you viewers. So I stuck around with that watch design, and here we are 2 years later, still talking about watches as diverse as they may be, from Microbrands to G-Shocks, Seikos, the entry-level watches to the mid-level watches that are from Switzerland, and even some higher-end Microbrands, and of course the luxury brands as well, and even news segments. So I really tried to cover as much as I could with regards to watches. And the more that I interacted with you, the more that it became fun for me. Now, let's start the journey with G-Shock because it always starts and ends with G-Shock. As you could see in my earliest watch content, the very first content that I made was about a G-Shock that I bought. And it might not be one of the most interesting G-Shocks, but I was able to, try my my best on using my design eye with regards to G-Shock, and that was something memorable. I even boosted that in Google, which is I don't know, I don't think it's necessary anymore. But now, as time passed by, I wanted to feature more and more watches, and the more that I gained the experience of talking about watches and making these videos, the more confident I became. I learned how to use light and composition a little bit better. The video is a little bit more consistent, and the framing is a little bit tighter and more appealing to the eyes, and even the audio became better. That's the early stages of the channel. I'm still using an iPhone and a couple of lights to make my videos, and of course my iPad, and that's how it all started. But then the second chapter in the life of this channel happened when I had this collaboration with Shiva's Golden Gems, one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, luxury distributors here in Aruba, and they're run by a very nice family. The Alwanis have been very kind to me and very kind to everyone. They're actually the more that I work with them, the more that I fell in love with this family, and I really thank them for all of the opportunities. And it all started with that. I just approached them and I told them I have a watch channel. I'm willing to collaborate with them and make content for them in exchange that I could feature that content also in my channel. And it was a very fruitful first year that we had, and I continued on making and diversifying my content. I was putting myself or placing myself on the micro brand, then on the lower end affordable watches, and then also in the luxury brand. But that also created a clear divide between my audience, which is the microbrand audience, and the luxury uh, Swiss and luxury brand audience that I have. And that actually, I felt, kind of stunted the growth of the channel, but I can't help it. I just wanted to talk about these things, and these are the ones that are engaging to many of you. And in time, I tried to figure out what is really the best for this channel, and I had many collaborations, and that's where Horology Story comes in. And now for the big announcement. As you may have noticed that we have been collaborating with Horology Story for quite some time now, and it was ramping up recently, and my collaboration with Adrian, suffice to say, has been a very interesting and enjoyable experience. Now, we have been talking behind the scenes for quite some time. We've been exchanging ideas, and we found that there's so much more that we can explore together as a partner, and that is why, from now on, we will be officially powered by Horology Story. Yes, Design Atelier will be officially partners with Horology Story. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that there's going to be a lot more changes in the channel? Actually, no, there's going to be very minimal change. We're still going to be talking about microbrands and G-Shocks and watch design in general. So what will change? Well, what will change is that we'll see even more interaction with Horology Story, as Design Atelier will become its international arm in the watch community. And we talk about community as in a real community that Adrian has been cultivating in Indonesia, and now we're trying to expand that also internationally. Just a brief summary of what Horology Story is. Horology Story is the premier watch YouTube channel in Indonesia that specializes in microbrands. Adrian is the microbrand king. That's all you need to know. And that is not an understatement. He not only has Horology Story as a YouTube channel, but he also has a store that specializes in microbrand, the biggest microbrand store in Indonesia. And if you want something from a microbrand, you'll likely find that in Horology Stories or in Adrian's own store. I wanted to make sure that Design Atelier continues to grow, and this partnership with Horology Story will enable that. Remember, we're talking about a watch community and not just the YouTube channels of Horology Story and Design Atelier. We'll be bringing more and more of these projects that will fully engage the watch enthusiasts, and not just in YouTube but everywhere else. So I'm really excited to announce our partnership with Horology Story, and they have enabled a lot of things, not just for this channel but for me personally. And suffice to say, this month has been a life-altering month, because that's just one of the big announcements that I wanted to make. The other one is that I am now officially working with Shiva's Golden Gems. Now, I never thought that my YouTube channel would become my very source of income for my family. It is when you see that on YouTube, when they have those kind of videos, how to make your YouTube channel grow and how to live off of YouTube, that actually has happened to me now personally. But not in a sense that the revenues that I'm generating from YouTube is enough to feed my family. No, definitely not. If you know how much subscribers I have and how many views that I get, it's nowhere near anything that could sustain even a person in this economy. But in hindsight, because of my hobby being in YouTube talking about watches and design, this opened the door of opportunity for me to actually work in the watch industry. I had to leave the job that I have for 25 years and leave the family that I have there and join this new family in Shiva's Golden Gems. It is quite nerve-wracking in the first few weeks, if I'm to be honest with you, but I never imagined in my life that I'd be doing this kind of career change this late in my life. But that's something that I wanted to tell everybody. Like, in all seriousness, let's get this watch pirate persona aside, if there ever was any. That it sometimes takes risks, or it takes, well, of course, calculated risk for these things to happen and for these career changes to happen. But at the same time, also, we have to leave our comfort zone sometimes in order for us to pursue our passions or our dreams. It's kind of cliche to say, as many may point out, and of course, it's not realistic either. I happen to have the opportunity, but at the same time, the more that I talked about something, the more that I learned about that, and also because of you viewers teaching me on how to be a better, more intelligent and knowledgeable watch person, I was able to actually get an opportunity to work, not just in the watch industry, but in the watch retail industry side, with this partnership with Shiva's Golden Gems, and with this partnership with Horology Story. The YouTube space now, talking about YouTube, has enabled me to change a career and go do something that I really love to talk about as my full-time job. If it weren't for you, who's continually watching my content and interacting with me, telling me what I got wrong. Of course, I mean, I'm not always wrong, but I am wrong sometimes. But when you tell me those things that I got wrong, I actually learned from them. I actually grew from them. And this is now me talking about watches as a full-time job. And that's my blueprint for making a living with Design Atelier. Now let's get back to work with our product review. A viewer once asked, why did I talk about a watch that's already sold out? What's the point of releasing content that a viewer could not buy? Well, it's a learning lesson. It's the same lesson that you should be learning from this Mako GMT from Zelos. Yes, this watch is already sold out, but here's the reason why you should be looking for the next version of the Mako. This video is brought to you by Zelos Watches. Let's hop into the Design Atelier classroom for a moment. Lesson 283 is about Zelos availability. You should all know by now that Zelos watches often sell out. Elshan, founder of Zelos, once said that he is aware of the demand but wouldn't want to produce too much that its loyal collectors will feel the depreciation value of their rare pieces. The Mako, one of Zelos' more popular collections, is a perfect example. On the wrist, the curvaceous profile looks oddly accommodating despite its 12.5mm thickness. That white dial is very imposing as well, that's exaggerated by its very pronounced domed sapphire crystal. That white dial is just a magnet for darker colored straps such as this blue sailcloth strap from Artem. The white threads just pairs gorgeously with this frost Mako. You can pull off a number of combinations with this diver and multiply your enjoyment with the strap options. Zelos intentionally makes use of the standard 20mm lug width, knowing that you'll likely own more than one Zelos, so you can easily swap the bands at any time between various models. This off-white strap makes this variant a lot more summery in feel and looks great as a casual wear. But this latest Mako offers a lot more than just the feels. It also goes head-to-head with another well-known GMT from Seiko. The dimensions appear similar, but the Mako looks a lot bulkier beside the Seiko 5 GMT. The flat crystal of this Seiko makes it slimmer looking, but it's just a mineral crystal compared to the Mako's sapphire. Another plus is its bezel. With the ratcheting action, it's a lot more satisfying to play around with. Unlike with the Seiko 5's friction-failed bezel, the Mako GMT surely will win the hearts of many. There's another big difference. This Seiko is what they call the caller's GMT, where you can set the hours and minute hand independent of the GMT hand. This is useful when you're in your office and setting the time for that special someone around the globe with a different time zone that you need calling to. The same crown step is also where you can set the date. Overshoot any of the turns and you'll have to cycle through the crown once again. This Mako, however, makes use of the Miyota 82S5 caliber, which is a true GMT movement. True GMT calibers are characterized by an independent hour hand that pilots back in the day would set as they crossed the time zone. As you play around with the hour hand, you can also change the date as you cross the 12 o'clock position. The great thing about this is that you can go back to the 12-hour mark and the date will also move back with it. Bear in mind, it takes a lot of turning to get to your desired date. And the final upgrade against the Seiko 5 GMT is that this one is a screw-down crown. That is a great alternative to the Seiko 5 GMT that's almost better in every way. Every way as in even in the aesthetics department. We've reviewed the Mako before and the basic lines and chamfers are still there. That pleasing bezel knurling never gets old and that contoured side is always a delight. This model uses their generic oyster-esque bracelet that has a decent articulation and utilizes the modern Zelos glass that Omega would be familiar of. From the back, you can see the twin spring bar levers for quick strap changes and your typical basic case back. Case backs are often uneventful for Zelos, and that's perfectly fine. The dial is what really showcased in most of their collections. The indexes and markers are very pronounced with its high contrast dial. The details are mostly at the rim as the brushed bezel and GMT numerals reside in this location. Oh, and that crystal distortion is nice too. There's some appealing textures inside the indexes and hands. It's then beautifully framed whenever light catches it. Very lovely. And the cherry on top is that this Frost model is a full lume dial. $529. That's what this went for. It's sold out for a good reason, and it's a reason to track one down if you can. It's an extremely versatile traveler that offers the true GMT movement that happens to come in a Zelos look that's unique to the brand. Yes, it may be too late to get this very model for your personal enjoyment, but it may be time for you to really join the growing Zelos fanbase in Facebook. This is where you get all of the latest news and upcoming releases. There's also a massive marketplace and community in there. So think of it like it's a classroom where you could actually learn awesome things and trade your lunch money for some great swag. Lesson learned there, kids. Class dismissed. And that is the full lume Mako GMT from Zelos. It's the true Traveler's GMT that's already sold out, but it's a lesson learned that you should be looking forward to the next collection because you can bet that Zelos will be improving and upgrading its current popular Mako collection. And now it's time for your viewer comments. Well, it's not really a viewer comment per se, but it's actually a viewer that we're going to be interviewing and going to be featuring in this channel. So Deech has been very active in the YouTube watch space. He's always in all of those popular live streams. He's well known in the watch community, and it's a real privilege to actually talk to him and meet him in person here in Aruba. So here's what he has to say. So Jeff, thank you so much for coming over to the channel. This is like one of the special segments of our show, and we're very happy that you're spending a little bit of time of your vacation from Aruba and to talk about watches. But before we talk about watches, how have you been enjoying Aruba so far?
It's very nice, beautiful, it's hot.
It's hot, it's definitely hot.
It's hot, and you gotta stay out of that sun, you're gonna get burned, real quick.
Yeah, and that's Aruba for you. It's normally windy, and
Yep.
right now it's kind of stale, and but it's still a good sunny day, it seems.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the view here. It's amazing. So Jeff, we have like quite a few watches here. You brought some killer pieces, and before we start with that, what set you off into watch collecting?
Well, in years past I would collect all different kinds of things, from EDC items to sometimes knives, and I just, you kind of progress, and those things fade away, and the next shiniest thing is watches. And years ago we would go on the cruise ships, and I would walk through the watch stores.
Yeah.
And then we would go to the port, one of the Caribbean islands, and I would walk through the watch stores again.
We all kind of do that.
And then I'm starting to look online, and then I'm posting in groups I'm joining groups, and I'm posting in groups. Is this Hublot a good deal or whatever, right? Because you're fascinated with the more you learn, the more you kind of graduate. So, right, you kind of go up the ladder from G-Shock, Seiko, you just keep going. And And so then I started collecting. Then watches became the hot item about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Hasn't stopped. I'm a relatively new collector.
Well, I'm relatively new because I'm just like, what, 2-3 years old in this game.
Yeah.
You think,
It hasn't stopped, and I just, you try to be as fiscally responsible as possible, right? But these are not, they can get crazy.
Yeah, they can get
Let's
crazy
just say
like
that.
really quick.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
My doorway or a gateway rather to the watch collecting thing is the Random Rob. Random Rob has always been like, oh my goodness. When you start there, when you go into his live shows, and then he talks about all of these watches like one after the other, it just like gets to you.
Yeah.
I think that's how I learned about Bobby Legs. And Bobby Legs, if you could say your user handle and in YouTube.
Yeah, Deech2086. I'm always in the chats and stuff with the guys. And, I think once I found a lot of the guys there, and Tim, once I found Tim Masso, that was really that was the hook.
Yeah, I was telling the guys, you don't know Tim Masso. I feel like
everybody
a bad parent if I didn't
I got to meet
teach
him in Philadelphia.
That's awesome.
Last year, it was really nice.
So Jeff, thank you so much for coming over to the channel. This is like one of the special segments of our show, and we're very happy that you're spending a little bit of time of your vacation from Aruba and to talk about watches. But before we talk about watches, how have you been enjoying Aruba so far?
It's very nice, beautiful. It's hot.
It's hot. It's
hot.
definitely hot.
It's hot, and you gotta stay out of that sun. You're gonna get burned, real quick.
Yeah, and that's Aruba for you. It's normally windy, and right now it's kind of stale, and but it's still a good sunny day. It seems.
Yeah.
I love the view here. It's amazing. So Jeff, we have like quite a few watches here. You brought some killer pieces, and before we start with that, what set you off into watch collecting?
Well, in years past, I would collect all different kinds of things, from EDC items to sometimes knives. And then you kind of progress, and those things fade away, and the next shiniest thing is watches. And years ago, we would go on the cruise ships, and I would walk through the watch stores, and then we would go to the port in one of the Caribbean islands, and I would walk through the watch stores again.
We all kind of do that.
And then I'm starting to look online, and then I'm posting in groups I'm joining groups, and I'm posting in groups. Is this Hublot a good deal or whatever, right? Because you're fascinated with the more you learn, the more you kind of graduate. So right, you kind of go up the ladder from G-Shock, Seiko. You just keep going. And so then I started collecting. Then watches became the hot item about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Hasn't stopped. I'm a relatively new collector.
Well, I'm relatively new because I'm just like 2-3 years old in this game.
Yeah. It hasn't stopped, and I just, you try to be as fiscally responsible as possible, right? But these are not, they can get crazy.
Yeah, they can get crazy like really quick.
Yeah.
My doorway or a gateway rather to the watch collecting thing is the Random Rob. Random Rob has always been like, oh my goodness. When you start there, when you go into his live shows, and then he talks about all of these watches like one after the other, it just like gets to you. I think that's how I learned about Bobby Legs. And Bobby Legs, you're a frequent viewer. If you could say your user handle and in YouTube.
Yeah, Deech2086. I'm always in the chats and stuff with the guys. And, I think once I found a lot of the guys there, and Tim, once I found Tim Masso, that was really that was the hook.
Yeah, I was telling the guys, you don't know Tim Masso. I feel like
everybody
a bad parent if I didn't
I got to meet him in Philadelphia.
That's awesome.
Last year, it was really nice. It's just a big community, right? So once you get to know a lot of the guys, then you're asking about this purchase or that purchase, and then you can kind of narrow down how you want to collect, right? I mean, I know people that go after certain models. I particularly like, the the G-Shocks, right? Or a limited edition Seiko like this, right?
Yeah, this one's this is the first time I've seen a Marine Master much more like this setup. Is this like what?
That's
what is
a SBBN 029. So I think 2016, 2018, something 700 pieces only.
Wow. Yeah.
And when I start researching Seikos, there's a million Seikos, right? So I want to find the one that's limited. I like things personally as a collector, and whatever I'm doing, I like things that nobody else has.
Oh, look at that bezel. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I do it. So if I'm gonna, they say every Seiko is such a historic brand, right?
It is.
If it's not in the collection, you could almost argue like you shouldn't be a watch collector, right? You should have a Seiko in the collection.
Seiko.
Right?
You should have like a G-Shock in your collection at least.
Right, but then if that, taking that one step further, the tuna is arguably a very significant part of Seiko's history. So if I'm going to buy a tuna, which many people know I don't prefer the thick watches, right? But if I'm going to buy a tuna, because of the lug to lug, it wears fine, right?
I have one actually at home. I just didn't brought it. It's it's way thicker than this one. This was like actually this is a modest size compared to
it's very nice.
Tell us about this.
Okay, this one, this is what you call influenced. Okay, right?
Who influenced you on that one? Ahmed, of course.
Yeah, he did a video on it on his channel, right? Ahmed Reviews. Shout out.
Yeah.
Right?
Shout out to Ahmed.
And I, watched the video, of course, and I was like, oh, that's unique. That's so cool. Oh, let me look it up. Oh, it's pretty reasonable. Oh, they all different designs. Really? Do they have any limited ones? No, they don't really, but some of them are hard to find than other ones, right? So I was looking between this one and the green one. I chose the blue, and I just like it because it's a good beater. It's this Duratec, titanium, I think it is. Really hard coating. And
I want to try that out. I've never tried that.
I liked it so much.
Oh, it's super light.
I liked it so much that I bought two others.
Wow. There we are.
This one is really more limited and tough to find.
And this is more like the sand dune colorway. There we are. Look at these really nice pieces right here. So I've seen some of these like in some of the stores here, but I've never checked them out. But
they have a Citizen AD right in this building, and they have this watch.
And they have
they have the green. They have the green. They don't have the blue. They have the green. I'm surprised they don't have the blue. This is the Guild model here, and then that one is like the sand color that I really like. I'm going to replace this one with this one, and just have these two, the blue. This one's
like
that one's nice too, though.
Yeah, I mean, Guild is there's always like what you call it, an allure to Guild dials. Any watch with a Guild dial, there's a sense of luxury to it, but also at the same time, it's not so uber luxury that you can't wear it anywhere else. And I think that's also the appeal of two-tone watches, and the Guild is like one of those almost there. If you're not into like Guild two-tone watches, maybe a Guild dial or a Guild watch could be the one for you, because the thing about that is like when you look at it at a certain light, it looks like the whole thing is white or light.
You could build a sandcastle with that. You could go in the ocean. You could go to work for a whole day with that.
And that's
never going to scratch it. It's never.
And that's amazing about these cases.
Right? It's really, when you talk about value, right? For the price, I mean, $300, $400.
Yeah.
It's remarkable, right? And when you think about it, compared to, some of the junk that you see, like I was saying, in the Microbrand world. Like,
okay, now you're influencing.
Yeah. Well, I brought 3 for a reason, okay? I wanted to show you all 3 of them. And I want you to have this one.
Oh, wow, really?
This one here.
Oh, my goodness.
This is my latest, so this has to stay. But you can have the Guild.
Wow, okay.
Because this replaces this, you can see, right? I mean, totally. I don't need, not that I don't need it. I want you to have it.
This is
coming out.
This is an awesome gift.
Coming out.
Incidentally, I think you baited me into like talking about the Guild. So now I virtually like made like a mini review of the Guild.
And you can review that one. I'll send you the extension and the box.
Oh, I mean, like, this is amazing. I mean, like, I'm going to review all of the watches that you have, and as much as possible. I also brought some of my watches so we can compare, because like we were talking about like these budget watches, and there's some in the channel that really likes these modding parts.
Yes.
And we're gonna talk about that. But this is amazing. Thank you, Jeff. This is really cool. I'm gonna wear that now. I mean, like, sorry for the OG stuff. Sorry. I mean, like, I know you guys. Many of our viewers are more on the budget side and more on the.
I can see that. I'm right there with them. I mean, these two are a perfect example.
So, Jeff, tell us about this this piece.
Well, I knew when they came out with the full metal that I wanted one. Then the choice becomes which one to get, right? They have the black, silver, they had the rose gold at the time. It's very difficult to read some of the other ones. Then the yellow gold came out and I was hooked. I said, that's it, that's the one to get, you know. It's just so well done to me. And we all know it's like, you know, it's not real gold, but it's a cool watch to wear around, you know, and I just love it.
Yeah, and
I don't have a gold piece, and this is as far as I'm going right now, you know.
And there's something about G-Shock and how they make their gold ion plating, you know.
Yeah.
That there's a deepness to their luster if you look at it. And like, look, and this is one that I modded like a while back. You could clearly see the difference in the quality of the bracelet right there.
Yeah.
You could see that there's much more refined and much more defined edges here compared to this one. This is like pretty shallow if you ask me.
This watch in the sunlight, these indices pop and change different color.
Yeah.
I have pictures of it. It's really crazy.
And that's actually the difference there. You can see that the indices are like straight up, and they have like some graining to it. This one. This is a little bit more angular. And the thing about this is the GM models, and the regular GA 2100s, they don't have these kinds of indices and the finish on the dial. And this one has like a little bit more of a metallic finish on the dial, but it doesn't compare to the quality. You could see that the definitions of these, the corners are. You could see that that's an actual corner, and this one is softer. You can see on that. And now we have to like look at it and how other modding companies are doing it.
Right, you can see just the bezel is thicker here.
Yeah, that's what you're
losing.
Look at the
thickness of the bezel.
So
that's a no-go for me.
No.
Right?
You can see there.
I love the thinness.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Totally different. And yeah, not to mention the fake crown, and like that's also some people are put off by that. But then again, it doesn't.
It's not really that one's better than the other. It's what you prefer, right?
Yeah, it's a difference.
This is not. It's not a. You know, I like to. As much as social media and everything influences people, right?
Right.
In collecting anything, right? This is not a contest, right? We're not in a contest with all these people online and all this crap, right? It's just buy what you like.
Yes.
It's really the general theme, right?
I agree.
And, you know, and that can, you know, you can go down this rabbit hole of really being careful, you know, and being not too careful, you know.
Yeah. Whether
Whether it's financially or whatever, you know, you gotta. That's why I kind of like to limit it. I try to limit it as much as I can, and I sold a bunch of pieces because of that. I felt like the collection was
getting out of hand.
a little bit out of control, right?
Once it gets out of control, then
And
you
then I'm just like, geez,
reassess
you know, I have
that.
so much money sitting here. This could be used for X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
So this is, you know, from the Zimby line, you know, released I think 2016 again.
Wow, this is in really good condition.
Yeah, it was remarkable when I bought it. There's 16 or 14, I forget, Zimby models.
Yeah.
They're released in Thailand only. This is known as Zimby number 1. So this is limited edition, $12.99, and then it's numbered on the back what number it is. And
719.
Yeah, 719, right?
719.
Yeah, and you know, I just like this one the best, the gray turtle they call it. I love the turtles, and so I researched it, and I found it. And, you know, again, I kind of gravitate towards stuff that not a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Also on the Rehat, if you notice, there's orange on the Rehat as well.
Oh yeah.
See the orange, the 40 at the 10-minute intervals.
Yes.
The candy bar on top.
Yes, the candy bar.
Not everybody likes that, but I like it because I can't see very well.
Well, it has its own appeal.
Yeah.
Like what you said earlier, it's not about what's right or wrong. It's about
Yeah.
more about preferences.
Yeah.
And Seiko's been like really hitting it like really cool with their designs lately. It's just that the pricing is a little bit like that's what's putting off not putting off, but like that's part of the criticism of many people, because now like they're trying to upsell their prospects
Yeah.
line.
So this is a perfect example as we go down this.
Okay,
this
so Deech is like showing off his like iconic big watches. It seems that in the community you're known for having these big watches.
Well, I like this is a bigger watch, right? For sure.
Let me see if my lady pirate wrists could like
Again,
survive
I just like the
these
color
big
scheme.
watches.
That's why I searched it, and
Oh my god! Look how big that is.
yeah, it's huge.
No. Actually, it's not the. Look how small my wrist is. That's a better way of putting it.
So,
But you still have all of the adjustment holes to fit that. I can pull it off.
Yeah, I think so.
I can pull it off.
I mean, you know that G-Shock does collabs, right? They've
Yes.
been doing collabs for a million years, right? And this is one of those times that they collabed with, it's like an eco-friendly clothing company in London, central London.
That's the barometer right there. This is the temperature also. There's so many sensors about these.
Yeah. This is a 1000. This isn't a 2000 like this one. This is a 1000.
And the thing is, like, look at that camo
Yeah.
print.
It's called
very simple.
British Bonsai Forest. It's called.
British bonsai forest. And it has the Maharishi
There's the logo on there. Yeah.
That's awesome. This is a really good collaboration.
It's sharp.
It's sharp.
I like
There
it.
you go.
It's not something I'm wearing mowing the lawn, but I like it.
Yeah.
And so here's the new Ranger Man.
Yeah. I think we mentioned this in one of the cats.
Yeah,
Guys,
here's your cat.
there we go. Like again, this is not a real cat, but this is a very awesome cat that's behind an awesome timepiece.
Yeah. So that one is the Japan model with the carbon fiber strap or whatever. They have two models.
Yes.
Came out with. And the word, whenever it says Japan or whatever, something that's more limited, I want it.
Yeah, it says carbon fiber on it, but you barely see any carbon fiber. It's probably like inside, right?
Right.
The carbon fiber is like inside, so that
It's just
to reinforce the strap. But this is also something that most people don't know. But Aruba, we don't get like the signals for multiband, so that's something that we cannot receive here for some reason. I don't know. Maybe we're too far or too remote. But the other sensors here will, of course, like onboard sensors. This will work.
kind of using those words limited edition scarcely, right? Like, how limited is this? Oh, okay, they don't make it anymore, but you can find it,
Yes.
right? And the reason for the Toyota Land Cruiser is, it's a pretty big collab with Toyota, right?
Yeah, and this is not the first time that they've done it.
No, it sponsors their race thing. There's another model of that,
Yes.
I think. And
And look at this, guys. This is something that you should be, aware of, like of G-Shock. Like, look at these. These are unique and distinct designs that help not just with the comfort of the watch, but also with the shock resistance.
if you compare the 1000 to the 2000,
Yeah, there we go.
look at the thickness.
Wow.
So you see how I'm drawn to the newer model?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's night and day wearing experience.
Exactly.
Totally different.
You can see the thickness, like.
And I'm a
Reduce.
Toyota owner. My FJ Cruiser has
Oh well, there you go.
245,000 miles on it.
This makes sense on
So
it.
this was a watch I had to have. I'll never sell.
Well, next
So I
time.
love Toyota.
Next time we'll review your Toyota with
Yeah,
when we go to the United States, we'll visit
Yeah.
you guys, and then we'll
Absolutely.
review your Toyota also.
So, going down this path of limited, right? I love the squares, and then you can, you'll see my square collection. It's online in the G-Shock Square group that I used to have. And I blew up the collection. Many people call it blowing up the collection. So I blew up the squares because, around my office there's just so many watches. I started getting out of control. So the reason we do things is for a bunch of different things, right? For my purpose, why I blew up the square collection was I had a tenant move out in one of my apartments. And I walked in there after 10 years and went, this isn't going to fly anymore. So you have to spend a bunch of money to do that, right? So I said, let's get some money going to fund the rehab. The squares were the ones that ended up on the chopping block. So that's the TVA, the TVB, the OG titanium, a few other squares, right? I kept the U.
Yeah,
got the ball moving with the, got the ball moving financially, right? And put in some of my own money. And anytime I'm not touching my bank account and I'm funding it through watches, to me, I'm just shifting money around for what I want to do.
These are assets in a way, right?
In a way, right? So then the box of 8 kept going down to 2. Well, 3 actually. One, this one, and the U with the bull bars on it. The U that I have, the 5000 U. So this was one that I just couldn't let go of. This was one that I searched for probably 18 months, and the prices never came down. They were, very high on this.
Yeah, it's still very high right now.
It's a 35th. It's not like the other gold one.
Yes.
This is the OG 35th, right? Yeah. The OG gold. I'm drawn towards squares that have positive displays, and that's why I mentioned to you earlier.
The other ones are negative.
That's right. The other one like this is negative. The production model. This is the 35th that is positive display. That's the difference, right, between the two. I had the negative display one, sold it. You can't read. I couldn't. I liked it, but I never really wore it. I thought this would take the place of that, so I sold that to help fund this. When I found the right one.
This is in really good condition.
Yes, I can. I mean, this sounds crazy, right? But I can go out on a limb and say, and I'll send you pictures of this. When I got that watch in from Japan, it was new old stock, as 100% complete as you will ever see. The experience was like nothing else. And it sounds crazy, right? I know, like it's not like big day where you're getting a Rolex or whatever. But to me, after a year and a half of searching, to get that the way I did, and to open it with the packaging still on it, completely dead, and to consult some of my friends on how to charge it correctly, whatever, right? And to see it come alive after a couple of days.
You mean, because it's untouched?
Untouched, complete 100% new old stock. Never worn, never even taken out of the box. And I'll send you pictures in regards to that because I documented the whole thing.
Yeah, I want to show that.
I never wear it. It never leaves the watch box until today, where it's here.
Wow. Okay, so we're part of the beach history here.
Yeah.
So this is also look. I want to compare it to the other gold Casio. Right?
Yeah, sure.
And here's also the difference here. You can see like the difference in the color tone, right? And also the finish. And the finish. This is a brush with some polish accents. This is a full polished bracelet.
Yeah.
This could really pass off as gold if you.
Discontinued, of course. Limited, of course. Production model.
Production model. Yeah,
not a 40th anniversary piece. Nothing. No. Just regular production. Go buy it online tomorrow.
This is special.
This is
really.
That's the square.
This is the square.
Right? To me. Yeah. Right? I like to think of it as the one that's never going to leave, right? Because I mean, just this and this is a killer 1-2 combo to me.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see the differences in color tones, and one of my friends brought that up to me in the past. I'm interested to see the color tones in the light.
This is very, very cool. It's an honor to see this
it's
come
cool,
out.
Right? So now going from G-Shock and Casio, then you end up in the Grand Seiko world.
Yes. So this is also my first experience of a Grand Seiko, right?
So this is a U.S. production release only, 2,000 pieces. This is their high accuracy quartz.
Right, look at that. This is one of the only times you were able to see a high accuracy.
So it comes with the bracelet, which I had back at home. I went out and got a deluxe strap. I wanted to tone it down a bit, right? And I got the Grand Seiko OEM buckle off of Bai.
Wow. Okay. So you went all out.
I modded this.
You modded. Yeah. This is a very, very luxurious mod. If you ask.
It's a good strap. I mean, the strap's whatever.
Okay. But I can now really say that Rolex, beside a Grand Seiko, looks really like a Microbrand to watch. If you ask me, the finishing does not compare. You know, it's a difference. I mean, I know you also have your own Rolex, but again, this kind of finishing is on a level that I can see why they you could spend like thousands on a Grand Seiko. They could justify that name. The only thing that like most people are hesitant about Grand Seiko is the name Seiko itself. But to me, I think that shouldn't be an issue at all. And look at how like the angles on this case.
If you look at it in the light, in the sunlight, if you had the direct sunlight, you can really see the changes. So I got that as my first one, the quartz. So then I had this idea of the trifecta.
Mm-hmm.
What's Grand Seiko most famous for?
Of course, Spring Drive.
Spring drive, high beat, and quartz. So I started at the opposite end of the spectrum.
Quartz first.
I got the quartz first. Then I found this one. This is the spring drive. I wanted a spring drive, but I didn't want a GMT.
Oh, okay. Look at this, Josh. Look at this is the first time that you're going to see in person a spring drive. Look at how smooth that sweeping.
Compare it next to the Rolex. Look at the 2 second hands. Which one's better?
You can see minuteness.
There's no tick. There's no stop. It's like
Both of them are smooth, but you could clearly see that there's a difference between the two. And look, this is you still have a battery? Okay. And look at this. That's amazing.
so that's a SPGA 469.
Automatic.
Yeah. This is a spring drive, automatic. Well, you could say it's an automatic.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so now we're here on the circuit. So tell us about your journey with the circuit.
Okay, so Rolex started for me at my 50th birthday 3 years ago, August. I knew I wanted a Rolex watch. I didn't know which one. I started looking in the catalog, looking online. I wanted the Datejust 41. I decided on the Datejust 41. Fluted bezel Jubilee. Had no authorized dealer relationship, so found a gray market dealer in one of the online Facebook groups, made a connection, and then asked him if he could locate this particular piece that I was looking for my birthday. This was 8 months prior to my birthday. So he said, yeah, it's an allocation only piece. It's tricky to get. So I can find it for you. This is the price, XYZ, whatever it was back then. I think it was 10,000. So I said, well, here's the deal. I'm gonna start sending you money in good faith, and then you send me the watch once paid for. I had 8 months to do it, so it seemed like a decent idea. So that's what I did. The guy was in the groups, heavily vetted, heavily trusted, and about 6.5 months into the journey, he sent me a picture. I got it.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, these guys, they find them for you. They're like the gray market, right? So he'll get it. And he got it, and then 2 days before my birthday, it showed up at my door. I brought it on 50th birthday vacation with me and brought it there. And then years later, I traded it.
No, you traded it.
Yeah, so it was a little too much flash for me. I traded it, right? And then I ended up being on vacation with my family up in New Hampshire, and I developed a relationship with an authorized dealer. Because I knew from the beginning that, you know, the retail price and the gray market prices were different. So I wanted to be a part of the retail price group.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't want to pay more than I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
It aggravated me a little bit.
That's the game.
It's a game, right? But it aggravated me a little bit, but I didn't care because it was my first Rolex and whatever, right? Once you get it, you get more into the hobby, you get deeper, you realize you need a relationship if you want to be interested in rollers,
Yes.
right? So I developed this relationship with this person, and she was constantly texting me all the time, offered me this, offered me that. We have a very good relationship, and I brought other watch friends to her.
Oh, that's a big plus.
Yeah, and I've told her about my dream 3, my 3 that I really want, right? And this was this one, the Polar, and the White Dial Daytona, which is the new one now.
Yeah.
Right? So I thought I was going to get the call for the Polar first. It took 1 year of waiting.
All right.
And then this showed this. I got the text saying, "Here you go, we're ready to go." You know,
So how do you think? How far are you now with the next one on the list?
I was told it will be 2023
All right. So still
for
this
the
year.
Polar.
For the
So
Polar.
probably late in the year, because this one was late in the year, December,
Correct.
almost New Year's before this one came. So I anticipate the text or the call, but she said they don't get a lot of them. They don't get a lot of them, and that's kind of a common thread, though. And I was surprised to get the call for this before the Polar, but I was told from others.
Yeah,
that,
it is like.
I was told
kinda
from others that
surprising.
the Polar is harder to get.
It is harder to get.
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't really know. I'm just happy that I got that one.
Yeah, well, I have smaller wrists, so
You don't have to worry
I'm
about
barely,
it, really.
I'm barely worry about that. But that's amazing, Jeff. I mean, that's about it, right?
That's
did you
it.
miss anything?
Yeah, that's the collection.
That's
I mean,
the collection.
that's most of the collection. I have some other pieces I left at home. I have a Zenith.
You brought the killer ones here, and that's
Yeah, I have a nice Zenith, which I love.
and we really
It's
appreciate
in the
it.
photos. It'll be in the photos. What else did I leave home? I have an Omega, an old Omega, 27
Yeah,
years old.
I have an old Mega too.
Yeah, 2254.50. That's
If you could remember all of
I know
those
the
serial numbers, it's
references.
crazy. That's crazy. I just call it my Mark II. That's it.
yeah.
My Mark II.
I love
That's
that
it.
one too.
Maybe
If
more.
you're there,
often,
look me up.
I'll look it
'Cause
up.
I'll be there.
I have your contact. So. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Jeff. Thank you for spending time with us, and go back to the studio.
Yeah.
And now it's time for Mr. Zilos. The watch fairly screams nerd, and I love it. Thank you, Mr. Zilos, and thank you all for watching this latest episode. See you next week. Consider where this channel is at. Oh man, should I keep it one take? Should I? And that is the full loom Mako GMT from Zilos. It's a true traveler's GMT that's already sold out, but it's a learning lesson. And now it's time for your viewer comments. Like what I mentioned earlier, the viewer comments this time. Okay. That kind of interview has to say, oh man, I actually had it good, but anyway. On this very special episode of Designer Notes, we're going to be featuring